this might be a tough concept to grasp, and what I'm about to say might arouse some big feelings, so I just want you to pause before I say it. Sit with this sentence for a second. Men do not need fixing. They need to feel needed. And once you understand that concept, the way you see men, the way you see relationships, and the way you see healthy love and your role in it, all those things are going to change completely. So, welcome to Christianish. This podcast is the podcast for women who have Bibles, but don't necessarily have boundaries. And this episode, actually, I would say if you wanted to share this podcast with women who aren't necessarily as big into faith as you are, this would be the episode to share, right? Because we're not really delving into Bible verses and getting really, how should I say, really overt on like religion and spirituality today. Although I will say that I have always considered the Bible to be a book of practical life advice, and that the Bible talks a lot about mindset. One of the reasons why I became not only a dating coach and also a hypnotherapist and didn't go into ministry and all of that was because I believe that mindset and regulating your mind, regulating your emotions are so important on your faith walk. And those are the things that, although they are essential to our faith and our spirituality, they aren't talked about in churches. And like someone who had that knowledge needed to be practicing in those areas, in the mindset and emotional regulation areas, right? So we are going to talk about this dynamic of how men don't need fixing, how they need to feel needed. And we're going to talk about the relationship between masculine and feminine energy and why so many unhappily single women get this dynamic wrong, plus what you should do about it, right? So men and women on the whole have different fears in relationships. And before someone goes spouting off nonsense, I just want to be very clear. Yes, there are exceptions to every rule. And if after you hear what I'm about to say, you might say, well, that's not how I am. I'm not like the women you're talking about. I'm more like the men. Cool. Good for you. Like, whoop-de-doo. That's great. All of that. I'm talking about in general, right? And you need to understand the rules before you can worry about exceptions, right? It is really important that you understand how things generally go so that if there is something that's different, you understand maybe why that's the case, but also so that you understand that rules exist for a reason. For the most part, this is going to be how most men think, right? Or how most women think. If you understand how most men think, it'll be easier for you to engage in relationships with them. So, I have heard this said a lot, what I'm about to say. Actually, when I was engaged, I had so many men say this to me before my husband and I got married. And that was, a man's biggest fear is that the woman he chooses will change, while a woman's biggest fear is that the man she chooses never will change. And that is why there is oftentimes a tug of war between men and women in relationships, because you have women who are trying to fix men and you have men pulling away because they feel disrespected and they feel unappreciated. So oftentimes women have this tendency to think, like, if I could just point out the ways in which he can improve, he's going to grow, he's going to change, and we're both going to be so much happier. But when you point out these things to a man, it often sounds like you're telling him that he's not good enough for you. And if a man feels like he can't win with you, no matter what, he is going to stop trying. So this is where that whole idea comes in of men feeling like women are nagging them, which can be really annoying, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to nag. Like, as a woman who's married to a man, the last thing on earth that I want to do is nag my husband, right? I just want partnership. That's what most women want. We want a partner. We want to feel emotionally safe. We want to feel seen by the man that we're with. And that is what leads women to say things like, why can't you just do blank? Or if you would just do things this way. Or you never listen to me. And if you are using those phrases, again, what the man is hearing is, I'm a failure. I can't do anything right. Men aren't motivated by being criticized. They're motivated by admiration. Now, I want to be clear. I am not at all telling you to baby a man, to mother a man, or to lower your standards. In fact, I am always going to be team raise your standards. If you think your standards are high, I would probably argue with you that they are not high enough. But what I am telling you is that you have to approach your relationship from an energy of influence instead of instruction. So feminine influence is all about looking at a man and showing him, hey, I believe in you. I see who you can be. And I trust that you're going to rise to that. So this whole idea of saying that men need to feel needed, this is not about you playing a helpless damsel in distress. It's not about pretending that you can't open a jar or that you can't fix your Wi-Fi. Although I will say, if you're having trouble with Wi-Fi and your husband knows how to fix it, or if you can't open something and he can, like, let him, like, cool. That's why you have partners. They're there to help you in all the things, big or small, right? But it's not about just that. Men want to feel like their presence matters, that their strength, their protection, their problem solving, all those things make an actual difference in your life. So this is about showing genuine appreciation. Again, not making it up, but when your partner actually does something well or does something right that you appreciate, saying that, hey, thank you for handling that. Thank you for being calm when I get overwhelmed, or you taking care of that really makes me feel safe and I appreciate it. This is about adding emotional fuel to your relationship. And it's not about just giving a man an ego boost, because if that's all it were, you could just lie. Like, you could lie all the time, whether or not he was doing good or not. You could just lie and say he was great until his ego was boosted. This is about activating purpose in a relationship. Because when a man feels needed and appreciated, then he's going to want to give more. He's going to want to lead more. He's going to want to protect more. And there's a lot of psychology behind this. So psychologically, men bond through purpose and through service. You know, masculine energy is all about doing, right? And women in general bond through connection and through emotion, through feeling. So connecting with a man by telling him how to improve, it just completely misses the mark, right? So you don't inspire someone, particularly a man, you don't inspire him through critique. You inspire him through belief. You fix your mindset, talking about mindset, to truly see the best in this person and show that you see the best in them. to trust in them, to believe in their ability, and to call them up. Now, again, I want to be clear because I feel like I have to make caveats through all of this. Some of you are going to hear what I'm saying and you're going to try to stay with an ain't-ish man, right? I'm not telling you to do that. The things that I'm telling you right now are beyond dating, although I am a dating coach. The things that I'm telling you right now are after you have met someone who has already shown that he is a decent human being and he is trying, and you are inspiring him to do even better, but you're already starting from a base of good, right? You are already starting from a base of good. You are not trying to take a trifling man and trying to fix him. Again, this whole episode is about how men don't need fixing and how you shouldn't be doing any fixing. If a man has no emotional capacity to be in a relationship, if he's just trifling, if he ain't ish, then you need to leave him alone. These are for the men who, again, have the base of good. And you just want your relationship to improve. You want to improve the connection. So now that we've covered that, let's talk about how to apply this in real life and make what I'm saying practical. So when you are with, again, a good partner, and he does something that triggers you a little bit, that you don't understand it, instead of correcting that behavior, I would really like you to come to it from a place of curiosity. So say, hey, I'm curious. Why did you decide to handle the situation that way? And genuinely be curious. Listen and see where he's coming from, see what his point of view is. And then you can have that dialogue. Like after you've had that curiosity, you can say, okay, I get where you're coming from. That didn't make me feel safe. And this is why. Or, I would feel better if maybe before a situation like this happens again, if you're starting to feel like you're going towards this route, maybe we talk about it. But open the conversation from curiosity. This also gives you just a chance to see more about where he's coming from in terms of his background, what maybe he learned from his parents. You and him were likely raised in different ways. So this will help you understand those things better as well. The second thing that you want to do is to focus less on criticism and focus more on appreciation. Now, again, do not lie. Do not make stuff up. But when your partner does things that you truly appreciate, bring it up. Because when you lead with gratitude, what you focus on magnifies. When you spend more time focusing on what is right about the relationship, you will see more and more of what is right, because his behavior will shift to those things. Now, the third thing that I want to say, I know it's going to trigger some of you, so please put your triggers to the side for a second. That is, allow your partner to lead in small ways. So this means asking for help with minor things, and then thanking him genuinely when he follows through, because that shows trust, and that trust can build over time. Now, I'm not saying that you need to quote unquote submit in the way of robotically letting him make all the decisions. Like, you are strong, you are smart, you are an independent woman. You can do all things through Christ. You can do all things through yourself, right? You don't need a man. This is about allowing someone to help you, allowing yourself to receive. Feminine energy is a lot about reception, and allowing someone to take over small things allows you to be bigger and better, because you can focus on the things that really matter. So let them lead in small ways. And if, I know I said that this was kind of the podcast episode for women who are not as religious. But if you are, then another thing that I would add is to incorporate that into your relationship when you're talking about gratitude. So, you can say in conversation things like, I see how God's working in you and I appreciate that. Or I trust that, when you go to God, you'll get the right answers on how to handle this. Things like that. But I want to say one of the biggest gifts that you can give a man as a woman is respect. We talk all the time about like the 5 love languages, and that's good and all. It's cool. But to some extent, that book really is a chick book, right? I just mean it to the extent that, and again, I do coach women, but I have plenty of conversations with men about dating and relationships as well. And they don't spend as much time thinking about that as we do. The biggest gift you can give a man is respect. And I just want to be really clear on it. It is respect. Loving a man deeply is not the biggest gift, especially because how women are as loving is concerned. As women, we're just naturally nurturers, right? So when we say that we love a man, there's so many things that could mean. We could love a man sexually, right? We can love a man because he is our partner and he's a provider and protector and all of that. We can also love a man like he is our child, right? We can parent and mother a man too. It won't take you very long. If you just sit and think of the relationships that you will think of plenty of relationships in your life, from coworkers, friends, church members, family members, whatever. You will think of so many relationships in your life in which a man and a woman are married, but the wife clearly mothers the husband. So, love can be done in so many ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that is the way that your partner wants to be loved. So instead, I would like you to focus on leading with respect. And that comes down to saying things like, I trust your judgment on this, or I appreciate your effort. Now, again, only do these things when you mean it, right? Because, again, what you focus on, you get more of. So I really, really don't want you to lie. If you lie and say that you appreciate this man's effort and you believe in your heart of hearts that the effort that he was giving was below the bare minimum, you're going to get more below the bare minimum effort. So only say it when he makes an effort that you truly, truly appreciate. But that being said, and again, this is why none of this advice applies if you're dealing with a terrible man, because you will do all of these things and you will elicit more and more terrible behavior out of him. This only works if you have a baseline of good. But that being said, when a man feels that he is respected and that he is needed, he is going to be more open with you. He's going to be more affectionate, and he's going to be more emotionally available. So when you stop trying to fix a man, you are giving him the space to choose growth. And I want to be clear on that, because you're going to find in some relationships that you give him that space and he does not choose growth. He chooses to be an immature child. And that is your sign to leave the relationship. He's no good, right? But when you find a man who you have given that space to him and he has chosen to grow, he feels needed, he feels trusted, and he is using that trust to grow, then you're going to end up with a love that is safe, that is powerful, and that is long lasting. So I would just encourage you to pause this week and ask yourself, in what areas are you trying to fix the situation or fix this person instead of inspiring them? And how can you step back and allow your softness to do the work? Because most of our feminine power isn't in controlling, it is in allowing. So I hope that this has given you something to think about. I hope that this will allow you to show up more fully in your feminine by not trying to control every situation. And if you need help with that, I would love to work with you one-on-one and building up your feminine energy and showing up more fully and more present in relationships. My coaching program is called From Toxic to Thriving. You can check out the link in the description. In the meantime, if this episode spoke to you, also please share it with another woman who needs to hear it. Or you could screenshot it and tag me on Instagram, on TikTok, or on YouTube at Keshia Rice, KESHIA RICE, and continue the conversation with me over on social media. Remember, you will never have to fix someone in order to be loved. But you do have to be the woman who believes in love enough to receive it. So until next time, stay secure, stay rooted in your faith, stay soft, and I will talk to you later. Love you so much. Bye.